Welcome to the Bad Tutors podcast. If you're here for the newest, up-to-date, and accurate information about the nerdy topics that are near and dear to your heart, well, let me tell you, you ended up in the wrong place. Here, we are all about hot takes and grandiose displays of misinformation, so stick along for the ride and you might just blow a blood vessel or two. Now this week, Tyler, we have what I think is actually going to be one of our first very genuine debates. We've obviously, our first episode was a debate, but it was a debate where we more or less
I played devil's advocate. Yeah.
Exactly. This one, we've argued a lot, and it's something that we actually diametrically absolutely disagree on. And for all of our friends listening, we are not talking about croutons versus toast. I think both of us would rather slit our wrists live on camera than talk about that one more time ever in our lives.
Whoa, speak for yourself. Okay, I'm typing up a manifesto for an episode.
Please don't.
I'm contacting Gordon Ramsay right now.
He's gonna agree with me. We're not getting into this. We're not getting into this because we will. This week we are going to be talking about Nintendo. As certainly most of our friends know, but I'm very willing to bet I've said it on this podcast before, I am not a fan of Nintendo, specifically as a company. I want to start out by saying the things that I do like about Nintendo before Tyler and I are at each other's throats. I consider Nintendo to be like the architect of my childhood, to use a very overused game journalist phrase, but like it's true. My first consoles were the Game Boy, the N64, into the GameCube. I was a Nintendo kid growing up. I played a lot of Nintendo games. Pokemon is one of my favorite franchises, even though in the last couple generations it hasn't been as great. But overall, I think Nintendo makes some of the best games out there, almost no matter what genre you're looking for, unless you're looking for like gritty FPS shooter. Like,
whoa, Splatoon exists. Okay,
how dare you?
You're fucking.
I said FPS, not third person. Splatoon is third person, so technically that is correct.
Whatever.
Hey, to your point, the lore of Splatoon goes hard and is super edgy. If you don't know, the world of Splatoon takes place...
Of course I know the lore of Splatoon.
For those that don't, it takes place in a world where it is like post-apocalyptic humanity, and they are on Earth, and there are like fossils of human beings scattered throughout the world. I've never played Splatoon, but like I know that because they always do weird shit like that. If you ever look at the actual Pokedex entries in a Pokemon game, a lot of them are like really depressing. They're like the ghost Pokemon are just your classic gaming journalist go-to of, did you know that these Pokemon are edgy? This one's actually a dead kid. But like, it is funny that kind of stuff is in a kid's game. But I've said before here, Breath of the Wild is one of my all-time favorite games. I played a lot of Wind Waker as a kid as well. I think you're also, at least to some extent, a Nintendo kid. I don't know if you were like as much as me, where it was my first couple systems before I got anything else. But like you also grew up playing Nintendo, yes. Right?
My dad had a PlayStation and had like Medal of Honor and Call of Duty on it, and I played those. He also had like some horror games that I didn't play because I was too young. And then we got a GameCube for my grandma's house, and we played the shit out of that, in addition to having Game Boys and like Pokemon, stuff like that.
Yeah, so both of us were very heavily, I think it's fair to say that both of us were very heavily influenced by Nintendo games as a kid, at least to some extent. I played Mario, a number of Mario games, but was very bad at all of them because I've just never been good at platformer games. But all of these games are, at least, I'm going to say up until recently, and preempt part of the argument, up until recently, an extreme amount of care has been put into every single Nintendo game that's ever come out. Realistically, like I can't really point to a Nintendo game, a specifically Nintendo game, because I'll be fair and say that the one that I was referencing there is the two newest Pokemon games felt like unfinished tech demos to me. But
Okay.
that could be a Game Freak issue as well. They are the actual developer of that company, but it is still a Nintendo IP. But I can't personally point to a single Nintendo game where I go, that is bad. I might not enjoy it. It might not be my personal game that I enjoy, but the amount of detail and care that is put into by the developers at Nintendo is incredible. They should be commended for the games that they put out. They were able to make a incredibly well-made turn-based tactical game with Mario and the fucking Rabbids. Like
That was amazing. That game
it
was
was.
amazing.
That game is so fucking good.
Did that come out on
love
the
it
PS
so
Vita?
much.
Is that like am I
Did it?
remembering correctly? I think that was like one of the big sellers.
I believe it.
Mario and
I'd say because I only know it as a
Rabbids
Switch
Kingdom
title.
Battle, right?
Yeah,
No, it
I
is a
think so.
Switch. Sorry,
I'd say I thought those were
I'm-
Switch exclusives.
I'm mixing up my games. Yeah, this was like one of the launch games with the Switch,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fucking.
It's incredible. It's so good. Like just they make good games. They make good family games. Mario Party as a series is one of the best and worst games ever made. And I only say worst because it will end relationships. I believe
true.
one of our friends
true.
genuinely broke up with someone, not entirely because of that, but as like a final straw, if I recall. But yeah, pretty much whatever genre you're looking for in a game, Nintendo will almost always have at least something close. Even if you're looking for hack and slash, there's No More Heroes. That's what it's called. No More Heroes is the game. It's a game where you're like just trying. There's like a leaderboard of like who's the best hitman, and the whole gameplay is boss fight sim where you're taking out. I haven't played it. I'm gonna say number 10 through 1 to become the best hitman in this world, and that is it made by Nintendo? It is not. It is not made by Nintendo, but it is on a Nintendo system, which is wild. Like it's pretty gory. It's cartoon gore, but like still like kind of fucking weird. It's on the Switch, and it was on the Wii. This game was on the Wii. You know that best-selling console of all time? It was on there.
Hey,
so like whatever.
The Wii was amazing. Okay.
I was not saying that sarcastically. I meant that as a
All
true
right.
statement. The Wii is one of the best-selling consoles of all time, and it's still a good console. My girlfriend and I have played Wii Sports Resort not that long ago. That shit still slaps. But so even on the Wii, which I think we could agree is the most family-friendly console that exists, I feel like that's fair to say. Like everyone played the Wii. Everyone you know. My grandma played the Wii. She didn't like it, but like she did play it. She hasn't played any other video games fucking ever. And even there, you can find a game about being an assassin where you're killing a bunch of wacky characters with a laser sword. Like they have something for everyone, and obviously their shtick is being that family-friendly, family-oriented, overall party game group. They kind of have a monopoly on party games outside of like what Jackbox,
Yeah.
which is certainly a party game, but like it's a very different than if we're talking about Mario Party. Like everyone has a version of Mario Party, and it's normally not as good. Everyone has a version of Mario Kart, and unless we're talking about Sonic All-Star Racers, none of them are as good either, because that game is weirdly good. I'm not even gonna lie to you. An interesting thing is that on the Wii as well, Nintendo released a Me Park game or something to that. It's sitting behind me, but I can't remember what it's called. where it's Mario Party, but you use your Mii's. Why Nintendo decided that was a good idea instead of just letting you play your Mii's in Mario Party, a vastly superior game, is just, it's not wrong. That's not part of what I'm trying to argue. It's just weird. I just don't know why they did that. I don't know what executive was like, "Oh yeah, let's make Mario Party but worse." It's not a critique. It's just confusing. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
What I'm getting at is I like Nintendo. I love their games. Their consoles I've always thought were of a very high quality. I still haven't experienced Joy-Con drift on my Switch. Knock on some wood there real quick. But like that's something that people complained about for a really long time, and I've never had any issues. They make a good product is what I'm getting at. They're good at what they do. But what they do a lot of the times is be really shitty to their fans, the people that give them the most money. And that is where I start to not back them. I think as a company on whole, Nintendo is one of the worst ones out there outside of like EA. And I need to make a very big, very clear statement on this. There are a lot of fucking game companies out there that are accused of like some actually genuinely heinous shit with like sexual assault and like workplace allegations. Obviously, I'm not trying to get that deep. Those companies are inherently worse for those things. Of course. I'm not trying to get rid of that. I don't think I really have to say that, but I want to just in case. There are some really shitty companies out there doing very bad things.
Yeah.
I am talking about just their business practices and how they operate on a grand stage of like to the public. Their public facing personas, how they tackle things. That's all I'm going to be talking about here, because as far as I know, Nintendo doesn't have any abuse allegations. But right. I don't really look into it.
Make your case. Make your case so I can tell you how wrong you are.
So one of my biggest issues with Nintendo, as I just said, is that they treat their fans, the people that give them all of their money and have made them the company that they are, they treat them like absolute shit all of the time. Very well documented. They never listen to them on average. Or all right, they don't frequently listen to what consumers want when it comes to a lot of things. They shut down anything fan related. One of the biggest things I'm going to talk about, because we are at least somewhat tangentially related to it, is how they treat, say, the Smash Brothers community. They've done some really shitty stuff to them many times, of shutting down tournaments. They have, for being an absolute titan, an industry leader within the world of video games, they have some of the most archaic fucking systems that barely work on average, and to me, that is simply unacceptable. Fucking the Ubisoft launcher is better than any social platform the Switch, or sorry, not the Switch, Nintendo on whole has ever had, other than maybe Phantasy Star Online, and that's only because I didn't play Phantasy Star Online. From what I've heard, it had a decent internet connection, which is hilarious to say that a GameCube game had a better online system than, as you brought up, fucking Splatoon, a game released not that long ago at this point. Even Splatoon 2. I think just overall, their business practices and how they handle anything facing the public is so archaic and outdated that for being an industry leader, it's just unacceptable. And obviously, I didn't get very into detail to any of those things. Before we really get into this, Tyler and I have argued this for 10 plus hours. We've gone back and forth on this a lot. So we have our points, I feel like, decently well laid out. So we're just going to set the stage of what we mean when we're talking about this. But that'll wrap up my opening statement, Your Honor.
All right, let's go. yeah, let's go through this. Let's go through this systematically. So they
Yep.
never listen to the fans.
Hmm.
And I don't really see a reason why they should. You said yourself they've released pretty solid products for years that always sell really well. Your example of Pokemon, um, I think that's more of them trying to branch out away from the rather stale formula that they had for Pokemon and sort of innovate it. Um, and but like God, I think the two Zelda games that came out were probably the best games that have come out, and I don't think anybody told them to make a sort of open world 3D Zelda game. You know, they are just really good at making video games, and they always make money when they do it. So I don't think that they should be listening to fans for anything. I don't know what exactly like listening to the fan base would even accomplish for Nintendo besides, you know, getting to the next point with Smash Bros. You're probably upset that they shut down uh, tournaments.
Hmm.
You're probably upset that, you know, they don't really like their games being used for profit elsewhere, which I think is totally okay for them to do. If a Smash tournament brings in $1 million and Nintendo sees none of that, I think it's okay and within their right to sort of be like, hey, we're stopping all of this because we don't get any money from it. It's just like a DMCA on YouTube.
Oh,
Um,
right. That system that works so well and everyone loves because it's used totally fairly.
it's not a perfect, you know, analogy, but it accomplishes like
Sure, sure.
the same sort of legal action and like the reasons why you can do it.
Hmm.
Um, the archaic systems, I think you're talking about the servers, right, or
I'm talking
lack of
about
them.
I'm talking about everything on their console that is viewed as an online anything.
Okay, so first, um, all of their online games, to my knowledge, use peer-to-peer connections.
Why?
Um, right, and that could be an issue um, for games and stuff like that. But I don't know if Nintendo really sees a reason to invest in uh, putting out massive server uh, infrastructure when their biggest selling games are single player games or games where the online component is sort of a secondary aspect to it. This would be games like Pokemon, where
Hmm.
when you're online, you're just battling like one other person, right? Or maybe
Right.
like if you're doing a double battle, there's like four people connected, and it's not so much about input and stuff. Now, Smash Bros, the new Smash Bros, the online, that's pretty shitty, but I think peer to peer is okay on that one because you are just interacting with one other person, and so it is your connection to that other person.
Hmm.
Um, if you were to go to a server, there could be more stability, but more input delay in terms of like you send a an up air to the server sends the up air to the player, whereas if you send an up air over peer to peer, it just goes up air right to the other player. So
You
a
get into
little bit more
some
accurate.
Dark Souls 1 issues of PvP at that point if you're doing a server system. I get that.
Yes. And yeah, like I said, a lot of their um, best selling games, they don't have a ton of online uh, components to the game. And
See, that
when
I would disagree with.
uh, I mean, you can point out some examples. I'm happy to see them, but if you have peer to peer and there's connection issues, it's because your player's internet connection isn't great, and they should be using a LAN connection when they can, and contacting their ISP for better service, because a lot of the times, if you're paying for a high level of service, you're not getting that level of service, especially if you don't have like new cabling put in and stuff like that.
Yeah, we can definitely both agree. Fuck ISPs.
Yep. And then public facing. I don't really know what you mean by that. Just do you mean like addressing the public?
Yeah, just in anything they're doing, like addressing any of their PR type of things. I guess their PR is more so fine, but like when it comes to taking down Smash tournaments and things like that, very little. For one, very little warning is given. The Smash World Tournament in 2023 for Ultimate was shut down, or they were given a cease and desist like day before, with no indication as to why they were getting it either. Is that all of them? Because I also, of course, will address these in turn.
Sure. Just for like the public facing thing, I think there hasn't been anything that would like bring Nintendo down as like in terms of a terrible PR stunt or
No, I agree with that.
reaction to anything. So I don't
I
think
think it's more on how they address. I think it's more of how they address communities when they shut something down. I think their PR in general is pretty good, if basic, but that's fine. I'm not gonna be like, man, you need to step your PR game up. I'm an advertising major that's barely worked in the field. I'm not trying to take a fucking stance on that. But the first thing I want to get is, I do agree with you on a couple of these points, especially when it comes to innovating Pokemon. Because I do think they are trying to. We both know that we agree that the Pokemon formula has become incredibly stale. None of them have been like, up until or before Legends Arceus, I would say that none of them are bad. They're just the same game over and over. And I think innovation into that, I think the idea of Legends Arceus, or even like Let's Go Pikachu, those ones, great. I love that they're doing that. I still think that Legends Arceus looked like a tech demo for the next game in that franchise, based on how bare bones it was and realistically how little there was to do. Where like even that one had a lackluster story, and other than Black and White, all of the Pokemon games have had a pretty lackluster story. Like, the story is not the point of a Pokemon game. That's fine. I'm not calling that out as an issue. The point of a Pokemon game is to catch and fight Pokemon, and then, oh, there is also a story there. That's okay. From what you've said and what literally everyone online says, Black and White apparently actually had a really good story, from what I've heard.
If Black and White was like, it had morals and ethics, and it was tantalizing to just actually, like, your nemesis felt like the good guy and you felt like the bad guy.
Exactly. That's super cool. I personally didn't get into that game as much, but I think that's great. Legends Arceus, and the new one is
Sword and Shield?
Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet. Sword and Shield was the same shit again, and it was
add raids,
whatever. Yeah, it added raids, which were like cool in theory, but just really broke the entire flow of a game of Pokemon. So like, yay, cool. You tried something and it kind of worked. You kept it in the new games, so clearly you liked it enough. But Arceus barely felt finished for what it was. It felt like if they had another year or 6 months on it, they could have done some really, really cool stuff with it. And Scarlet and Violet gave me a headache to play because the visuals were shit. The graphics were bad. Things didn't load in. Things didn't work right. There are so many just open, apparent glitches in that game, which, like, Fallout is my favorite game series. Skyrim's one of your favorite games. We're not averse to having glitches in our games. shit happens in a game. You can't test for everything. The community's going to break your game when you find it, no matter what it is, no matter how long you've worked on it, no matter how much polish there is in it. But from what we've come to expect from Nintendo, I just don't think that's an acceptable thing. And I would say that for many other gaming companies as well. This is not something that I am only throwing on Nintendo. Like, the game felt broken and it didn't look good. And you can't call out, oh, the Switch isn't that good of a system. Breath of the Wild looks beautiful. Xenoblade Chronicles run on fucking Switch. Like, they can do it, they just didn't. They didn't do it at all. It felt bad and unfinished, and I was not that much of a fan, even though they put in some really cool stuff. I think the open world element of it is super cool. That's a really good idea. The gyms also kind of sucked, but they were juggling a lot of stuff. They were juggling a lot going into it. I feel like if they added 17 new systems of things you can do, I think the game would have been really good. If they just would have done 10 of them and went, we'll put in the other 7 into the next game, I think that would have been fine. Or even put it into the DLC, because Pokemon has fucking DLC now, which that's an industry issue, not a Nintendo issue. I won't get into that. That's a completely different fucking argument. Saying that the Zelda games are some of the best they've made, I completely agree, of course. In that, tying into why listen to the fans, I would like to open this by saying I didn't know you were such a corporate simp all of a sudden. Why would they listen to the fans? Who gives Nintendo their money?
Yeah, it's the fans.
Is
but
it,
what I'm
is
saying
it the fans?
what I'm saying is whether or not they listen to them doesn't seem to matter, because they will sell the games every single fucking time. The fans have to actually do something and like not buy the games for there to be a reason to listen to the fans, which is my whole point. I
agree on that. I think that we could talk about like how well Hogwarts Legacy sold as a very similar example to that, for very different reasons, of course.
Of course, yeah.
But when I say listening to the fans, I don't mean their input on the games, because I do agree with you. Fans aren't game devs. They don't know how things are built. They don't know how much X minor change means 500 man hours of work on the back end that either isn't viable for a game or isn't worth it. When I say listening to the fans, I mean in terms of fixing online systems and making quality of life better, not inherently changing the games, because I agree that fans don't know what the fuck they're talking about when they're trying to change a game. I completely believe that. Game devs know better than the people playing the games as to what makes their games work. Completely. I 100% agree with you on that point.
Okay, but like, let's say Pokemon Arceus. Okay, let's say they filled out the world more and they made it look a lot like Breath of the Wild. Don't you think that there would have been a little bit of a community uproar, and they say, this game isn't even a Pokemon game anymore. This is just Pokemon flavored Legend of Zelda. You know, this game doesn't feel like Pokemon. This doesn't take me back to Pokemon. There's too much going on here. There's too much this, that, and the other, you know? Like, I can't...
Oh, absolutely. I think that happened with Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I just can't stress it. I can't stress enough that, like, the community is always going to find something to pick apart about a game. And if the game is selling, then they're doing something right.
Absolutely. But is that more my thought process on it is, are people buying these Nintendo games because, like you said, oh, this is bringing me back to my childhood? Or are they buying it because these are very good, well quality made games?
I don't know. It's probably
in the
both.
past, I agree. I think it's a little bit of both, but I guess what I'm saying is Nintendo's resting on their fucking laurels. And it's getting annoying. And there are a lot of gaming companies that are doing this. Absolutely. 100%. I think you can say Blizzard is one of those companies that's been doing that for a very long time. And I think a lot of people are getting a little sick of it. But this is where I will lose the argument. but I'll say it anyways. The reason that Nintendo hurts the most out of all of them is because these were the games of my childhood. So like I do have these issues with other companies for sure, but I get so passionate about it for Nintendo because it feels like your grandpa fucking cheating you out of all of your money. And I don't say that to mean their games never go on sale and stay expensive forever, which they do, which is not an issue, but like, come on,
You've been so coddled by Steam.
You're right. I absolutely have been. Being a PC gamer is the fucking best. Even PlayStation, I have a PlayStation that I play on. They put their games on sale.
Which
God
games?
of War was
Which ones?
Yes, all of them. All of them go on sale. Any of the PlayStation exclusives have been most of the PlayStation exclusives have been over 50% off. I realize we're not like nitpicking that deep into it, but like a lot of them are. The Uncharted trilogy I saw for $10 at one point.
I think the last Uncharted game came out in like 2014.
No, the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, all 4 games for under $10.
Yeah, it came out so long ago. That was just them trying to get more money off of it.
Look at the fucking Switch library. All of them came out 10 years ago.
Sure, but like, okay. If they are re-releasing the game and then putting it on sale, I don't think that's a good argument for it. They put their games on sale because they're just trying to get money on it again. Skyrim has been released on everything, including the TI-96 calculator, okay?
Of course.
The fact that Skyrim goes on sale is like, it's whatever, because they're just
getting more money
everything.
Out of it. Yeah, everyone has it already.
Yeah,
I agree. This is not one of the main parts of my argument. Another company that does this is fucking Activision. You can still, I think Modern Warfare 2 has only been on sale for like 20% off. That's some bullshit. That's again different argument, but it's something that mildly annoys me. You have to pay. Going into the online a little bit, I'm jumping around your point.
Sure.
Getting into the online things. For one, when you didn't have to pay for the Nintendo online systems, I didn't really have an issue with it because it was dog shit, but it was free. So like, you can only bitch so much. Now it's paid. And it's when I accidentally subscribed to it for like a year, I think it was only $6 a month, which in fairness is like a third of the price of all of the other online systems that require online.
Yeah.
But if we're going to compare them, and these are the 3 biggest companies realistically in gaming that I'm going to compare, of the Xbox, the PlayStation, and Nintendo. The big 3 when it comes to the console wars, even though Nintendo doesn't even really fucking count in the console wars. Nintendo has a shit online system that is $6, and up until recently gave you no additional value other than you can play the game that you paid for online, which I'm not calling out as an issue. There are a lot of games that you have to pay to play it, which is, again, there are going to be a lot of different arguments going through this. Now, if you look at PlayStations, you get 3 free games a month that you keep forever. You get their PlayStation library of games, which I'm blanking on the name on, but if you pay for their online, you can play a couple hundred games for free with this subscription. And yeah, some of them are shit and you're not going to want to play them, but some of them have been like the big PlayStation exclusives over the last 2 or 3 decades that you might not have picked up for whatever reason at the time, but now you pay for PlayStation Plus and you can go back and play all of those games. Xbox Live has what I think a lot of people consider the best system for that with Xbox Games Pass. I've heard nothing but good things about Xbox Games Pass. It has just a shit ton of games on there, like really, really high quality ones that are like, they're better than PlayStation for what they have. And both of those payments are around $15 a month. So they're 3 times as expensive, which with all the fucking subscription services we pay for, you might not want to pay for that. And I totally get that. But you get so much more even out of the 3 times value. Up until recently, Nintendo didn't have anything like that, and they've slowly started putting old games in the whatever it's called. It's basically just an emulator for old systems that lets you play their old games. And I'm not sure because I haven't paid for Nintendo Online in ages. I think you might still have to pay for those games as well. And as I said up top of this, you can't be shit and ask for money. You can be one of those two things, and that's it. And they're both of them.
Okay, I want to very specifically address this like console wars thing.
Sure.
Do you remember? This was probably when we were in middle school and elementary school.
Okay.
Why PlayStation survived?
Are you talking about
it's
like
because
after they
they're
got
online.
fucking hacked and had to get
No.
people? Oh, then
Their online service was free. So
Mhm.
Xbox was releasing better games. They were releasing better systems. And the only reason why PlayStation made it is because they had a free online service. So you could buy a PlayStation, buy Call of Duty, and play. And you could do that for like 4 years straight and not have to pay for it. Xbox, you always had to pay for Xbox Live. Yeah.
Okay.
So
see, even Wilson's getting riled up with this topic.
PlayStation decided we need to start making money off of our online service because I imagine they weren't making enough profit, or they were actually losing profit to keep servers up and stuff like that as they got more popular.
Sure.
So they started charging for online play, but they still needed to have a reason to be better than Xbox with their online. Right. So they charged the same amount, but they started introducing the PlayStation Play Pass or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, whatever it is that isn't called Games Pass.
Yeah. They started that. So PlayStation did that first. Okay. So now there was a reason to say PlayStation's better than Xbox, even when you look at online, because you get free games. Now the games were always shit back then.
Yes.
And then Xbox started doing it, and then PlayStation added some better games, and now they're like both kind of similar. You know, the system specs are like pretty much identical. Everything's running like at least 30 FPS for all of their games, and look pretty good graphics wise.
Console war is pretty much dead at this point, realistically.
Yep. And Nintendo, like you said, was never really in that console war, so they had no reason to do that stuff. There was no competition for the online space because they weren't in it. So they were just focusing on making their great games. Those games that you were talking about earlier, where you're like, these are my childhood, this is the architecture of my video game. Like life is
absolutely
Nintendo games and Nintendo systems. So Nintendo wasn't in on that. So they have like 20 years of internet infrastructure to make up for.
Sure.
And their online pass is probably going to be shit for a while, but just looking at the other big companies, they also started peer-to-peer. I think you can remember, like Black Ops 1, or even earlier if you played World War, what was it? Call of Duty. Yeah, World at War. Yeah. The zombies, somebody would disconnect and they happened to be the host, so the game ended. Or that was even
that happened all the time in multiplayer as well.
And multiplayer, the host would disconnect. So that, yes, their online stuff is archaic, but it's because they were never focused on online games and stuff like that. And so now they're catching up. So you can be upset about that. That there's like the blueprints for them to do it and stuff like that. But also like it takes a lot of effort to get servers set up, dedicated servers. Each game requires a dedicated server, and also their online service is going to require dedicated servers across the world. Anywhere where people play Nintendo games, they're going to need that. So you can be critical, because it's the year 2023 and we're still doing peer-to-peer connections.
Mhm.
That's fine. You can be critical of that, but you also have to be a little bit lenient because nobody expected Nintendo to enter the online space realistically, right? Like at
Sure,
what
I'll
at
agree
what
with
point
that.
were
Yeah,
you like, man, I really wish I could play Zelda with other people, or I
yeah.
really wish I didn't have to sit right next to my best friend to play Pokemon. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
I would agree that saying that the Switch is probably where they started realistically entering the online space at all. Like obviously other games had it, but I completely agree it was not the main point of what was going on in what they were doing. But now they are. The one of the big examples that I always pull is in, I believe, just this first Splatoon. As I said, I haven't played them. I believe 1 and 2 there was an issue where you couldn't join your friends in a lobby, which is not an issue of peer to peer. That is an issue of bad design. We can agree on that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, things like that. Like if it was still peer to peer, but you were able to join your friend, because like say you and I day one got Splatoon and we wanted to send some matches, you had to re-roll lobbies until you happened to get into the lobby with your friend, which in the year 2023 unacceptable. That's not okay. Even their way of how to add friends on your Switch isn't atrocious, but it's fucking dumb. Like the code, instead of just actually having, and like you said, it would be a new server, it would be a new thing they have to set up. But just to look someone up and send a friend request, this is coming from a place of complete ignorance, but I can't imagine that's that fucking hard to come up with.
Well,
Other
they'd have
than
to
just,
keep a
well,
data
this is what
user
we have.
base. They'd have to keep a data user base or user database. They'd have to keep like this player is playing this game, so all of their servers are going to have to tie back to their central servers.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a dedicated server for that game, which they aren't currently using with peer to peer.
Wait, this is not an argument. This is a genuine question. They would have to have tying back to what game you're in to be able to have a database to add friends.
So if
As I
you
said, I have no actual knowledge of how any of this fucking works.
if you want to tie this to games that we've both played,
Mm-hmm.
Monster Hunter, you have to add somebody in the game to join them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even if you have them as a Nintendo friend or whatever, you can't join them like you can on Steam. But the reason you can
Okay,
on
I
Steam
see what
is
you're saying.
because Steam has their friends list server, essentially, like their friends server, their central online play server. Um, and then games can use that, piggyback off of that to get players to play with each other.
Okay, that makes sense. That was a genuine clarifying question. Okay, I'm on board with that.
So using peer to peer, it's a lot harder because you have to decide one player to be the host between the friends,
Mm-hmm.
so they connect, and then when they get into a match with other people, within that match one player becomes the host, so now everybody's connected to them, but you're
Right.
no longer like connecting to your friend, you're connecting to that person. So that's why there's going to be issues there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it for that. It's just they don't have the infrastructure yet. I don't know if they plan on doing the infrastructure again, because they're big games that are selling the Switch, like Zelda, Mario Odyssey, the Pokemon games. They're selling the Switch console. I don't think it's
See,
Splatoon.
I feel like you're underrating Splatoon,
Okay,
honestly.
we might be because
But
neither of us have played it. But
exactly.
yes.
However, they still have Mario Party. Animal Crossing has a weirdly bigger online scene than you would think. It's all for capitalism, but that's besides the point.
Wait, Mario Party. You and I would both agree that if you're playing Mario Party online, it takes away part of that aspect of the game. of
It certainly
sitting next to
does.
people that you play
But
with.
for something like the pandemic during lockdown, or like if they're, say I wanted to play Mario Party, we played Mario Party all the time when you were living on the east side. Now you're on the west side and we still want to be playing Mario Party. Like there's people that still want to do that. And this is not the best analogy to draw. Certainly, I've been watching some like Mario Party YouTube content of people that are connecting online, and in every third video there's a fucking issue, or they cut an issue out or something like that. I also think Mario Kart specifically is, I think we could argue that that's a Switch selling,
yeah.
that's a Switch selling game. And in fairness, I'll give them credit, I haven't heard anything recently about the servers for that being really bad, but I imagine it still suffers like the normal peer-to-peer issues that they have. So like there are I feel like they're moving more into an online space than they are. Certainly the big games are the ones where you're single player. I do agree with that still, but they have a lot more online games now, because I think we kind of shifted back into a single player games market for a second there. Not entirely, but a little bit, where like your only big multiplayer games were fucking Fortnite and Warzone. Really? That's the only thing people were really talking about. So like we kind of switched back into a single player driven games economy, for lack of a better word. But I think it's kind of going back again, and people are making a lot more online multiplayer games, and I think Nintendo falls into that as well. And if they're going to continue doing that without improving their systems, it's not gonna hurt them. You're right, because Nintendo fans are a fucking cult, as I said with like fucking Harry Potter Legacy, that was going to sell. Nintendo games are going to sell. But I think this is just gonna end up getting into at least my political beliefs on stuff. If that's just not okay, like fix your shit, make it good, provide a better product for your consumers, treat them with respect. Valve treats their consumer base with respect. Nintendo doesn't, ever, and they never really have. They go, here's a really good product, now fuck off, give us our money, and that's it. And in a single player game, that's fine. You're not going to be updating Breath of the Wild all the time. They're like, what is there to update, unless there's some like massive game breaking glitch that like fucking bricks your Switch. Like you're not going to have updates for something like that. But
okay,
to me that just doesn't make it, like, being an industry leader and having that opinion of fuck off, give us our money is just shitty. And I realize it's how the world works. I'm not trying to change the world with a podcast.
I hear what you're saying. And, you know, wanting to receive a good product and everything is great. I think one thing to maybe consider, since you think that Nintendo owes it to their players to take care of them, I think Nintendo is maybe undisputably the best game company to work for. They don't have,
I'd agree with that, yeah.
They don't have like those rush initiatives to get a game out on a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like force overtime from game devs. They don't they take care of their employees, which I would say is probably more important than taking care of their customers.
I would agree with you on that. Yes, I won't dispute that.
I think to put the customer above an employee is probably wrong in in every situation. And so if you don't like the product, you don't have to buy it.
Of course.
But if you like the product and you buy it and you're not satisfied with the product, don't buy it next time.
Yeah. That's a you problem. I completely agree with that. And I agree that employee should come before consumer, but I don't think that means that consumer should be discarded and thrown out of a window.
And I feel like that's what they do. That's just not happening. I'm sorry. That's not happening.
I don't know. It's like I said, it's more of just a like respecting your consumers, of their taking down of intellectual property, which, because I know you're going to say it, if that is being used for profit, that is within their right. That is absolutely within their right. If something is profiting off of their thing, it is. And I'm going to go back on that a little bit and change how it's worded to be a little different in a second here. But like when you're taking down people's art, or for example, they pulled down all of a huge back catalog of Nintendo music off of YouTube. Now, was this guy making profit? Maybe. We don't actually know. We never saw monetization statistics on, I don't even know what channel it was, but he hosted just like all of the Mario 64, like all of the old music from Nintendo games. He may have been making money off of it. He may not have been making money off of it.
I don't because you pay for YouTube Red, but every time an ad comes up, that person gets money.
I know. I don't know if he had ads on his videos, though. I just genuinely don't know that. He might have. Like I said, I don't know if that channel was monetized or not. But regardless, you can only say that they are losing money on it, because you could argue that if they were selling that product, if they were selling the old OSTs, they are losing money on it by having someone hosting it on YouTube. I completely agree with that. However, they're fucking not. They're not selling the music. So there is no loss of revenue that you could look at.
It's not about the loss of revenue. It's somebody taking somebody else's works,
sure,
and profiting off of it because they did the lowest effort thing, which is, captured the music from the game and then uploaded it to YouTube.
So why is Nintendo the only company out there that's doing that?
I don't know, Ian. Because they're the only ones with the spine?
No, not because they're the only ones with a spine. Companies that sell the OST and make profit off of it themselves still don't copyright claim things and still don't take them down. It's because they know it's for the love of the consumers. That's treating your customers with respect. If they were selling Mario 64 OSTs on their whatever website you want to go to, I would have gone, all right, yeah, fine. They're looking as that is like taking money from them, and like now they're not making money, but they weren't. They weren't making money on it. And that's what I'm going to end up drawing in on some of the Smash tournaments as well. But let's keep going with this.
Sure, no, that's fine. Let's just go to the Smash tournaments.
All right.
I don't know enough about the music YouTube channel.
Fair. That happened a long time ago, so my memory on it is rather hazy at this point as well. Nintendo hates Smash, and that's not something you can argue with. Just in general, they fucking hate Smash. I don't know. Okay. Like, they're only continuing to make it because it's one of their biggest things. They hate the Smash community, and they always fucking have. They've always hated it because they're family-friendly games that should not be competitive. Which, like, fine. If that's the stance that they want to take, I can't argue that. That's just how they want to be viewed. There's no issue with that. But when you said they're profiting off of these tournaments, for one, they're fucking not. The Smash community is dying because there's no goddamn money in it at all. Every fucking major org is going out of business because they don't make any fucking money off of any of these fucking tournaments. And the idea of they're losing money off of it, that I said earlier and you said earlier, again, they aren't losing money off of tournaments. Do you know why? Because Nintendo doesn't host their own tournaments. And again, if they did, and then they wanted to take down Big House like they did, they took down Big House 10, which was online during the pandemic. So people weren't even meeting, so it couldn't be like, we don't want people gathering, that's not safe, which I would have commended them for if that's what Big House was doing. Absolutely, that would have been the right call. They weren't. It was a completely online tournament. I would have agreed. But they don't host their own tournaments because they don't care about Smash in the way that the competitive community does. And with that, like, just why? Like there was huge cease and desists on um, Project M, which is a mod for Smash Brothers Brawl, which made sped up the game and made it more competitive. Neither of us really know a ton about that outside of our
Sure.
Smash friends telling us about it. And
You
when they started streaming that,
you don't see why they might
no, I
cease
know
and desist the
why,
game
because
that has been altered
it's
from the
not
state that they
theirs.
released.
Why did they do it? I think like 7 years after it came out is the thing. They weren't, because this is something that's come up recently.
Did they cease and desist Melee and then 7 years later cease and desist Project M, or was this all sort of like a big movement from Nintendo? Because I'm pretty sure it's the second.
They were actually at two separate times.
Okay, was it
they
like
they were
7
at two
years?
very separate times?
Was it like
oh, they've always been. In fairness, they've always been cease and desisting Melee constantly. They cease and desist Melee at Evo.
Okay, I don't know any better, but
they definitely, one of the majors that was at Evo, which is the biggest fighting game tournament. It's like all of the fighting games go to Evo. They cease and desisted Melee there. They might have done it for Project M, but I don't know if it was there, in fairness. I don't think anyone cared enough about Project M for it to go to Evo. People definitely care about Melee enough for it to go to Evo, though. And cease and desisting a Melee tournament at this point for pulling in like revenue, like Melee isn't selling anymore. The only people buying Melee are people that play it competitively. No one's going back and being like, yeah, let me pick up Melee for $70 because it's impossible to fucking find now because it's so fucking old.
Yeah,
they're not losing any money on it. Yeah, it's all secondhand market. So like Nintendo isn't seeing any profit top to bottom for Melee. So if they were to host their own tournaments, again, I wouldn't care. There was a whole thing of drama that I won't get into too much about a company, Panda, saying that they got basically licensing from Nintendo to run all of the tournaments, and then Panda was a shitty company. There was a lot there. It's not worth getting into for this. But like it almost seemed like Nintendo was trying to do something, and then there was any amount of backlash for the other company being shitty, which is not Nintendo's fault. And then they just completely backed out and went, fuck it, this isn't worth our time. Which I don't blame them for that. That's not shit they want to get their hands in. I don't blame them. They're trying to streamline things as much as they possibly can. That's perfectly fucking valid. I see no wrongdoing there. But when they're not making any money, the only thing you can fall on for it is basically, and not only not making money, they're not giving reasons. Like, other than for Project M, which is a modification of their IP, which is something else that I want to talk about in a second, which, like, fine. I don't like it, and I think it's really fucking stupid, and I think that the execs at Nintendo are very out of touch for that belief, but, like, copyright law and all that, like, fine. They were within their rights to do it, but that doesn't make it correct, is what I'm saying with that. It's just only draws into them just being like, we actually don't like you as our fans. We want to push you under the rug and hide you as a community because we're the family game, and family games can't be competitive. And then Mario Party breaks fucking relationships. Like,
okay, all right,
and that last part of it is obviously not a serious part of my argument. I just want to make that fucking clear. Okay. But go ahead.
All right. So let's just pretend like you understand that if they don't want other people to profit off of their things, even if they're not profiting off of it, that's okay. Let's just pretend that you can square that in your head. That would be my first argument. My second argument would be, yes, they obviously have an issue with the Smash sort of community. And if, like you said, they are the family game company, a company that makes, quirky little plumbers that step on mushrooms and stuff and stays away from, gory shooters and stuff like that, so they want to appeal to a younger audience and stuff, don't you think that they have the rights to sort of try and squash out a community that has like a shaded past with sort of legality and family values. Um, it, don't you think that they're allowed to say like, "Hey, don't play our fucking games, you slimy fucks"?
Do I think they have the right to? Absolutely. Yes. I think that they are within their rights to do that. I think it shows very badly on them though. Just saying that I think we could both agree that the Smash community is the most passionate community of Nintendo fans.
You have anything else about Smash that you want to talk about?
About Smash, no, but I do have one more point that I forgot to bring up before.
Okay.
And that it does somewhat tie into Smash in the issue with modding. There was, I'm sure I bitched about it at some point if you didn't hear about it. There's a pretty big YouTuber, Point Crow, that just recently got hit with 2 strikes on his YouTube channel and a couple hundred videos claimed by Nintendo because of mods within their games. Like he was doing basically Dreams Manhunt within Breath of the Wild. So multiplayer Breath of the Wild mod that was taken down, and as well as some Mario Odyssey mod videos taken down as well. And there's a really big, one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is a group of creators that do hide and seek within Mario, because one of them in the modding video, I think we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, of one creator, Crafty Boss, basically reverse engineered all of the code of Super Mario Odyssey and made it work in multiplayer. And an interesting thing that I've heard from one of the other creators within that group, Small Ant, is that a big thing he makes sure if he has any modding content on a Nintendo game, a theory he has is that you can't link to how to do it. Because he also has videos that were not claimed, or he hasn't received any strikes on his channel because it wasn't, oh, I'm playing modded Breath of the Wild and here's how you do it. And like with all of the links and everything in the video. And the videos are down, so he even said, I don't know if Point Crow had this in his videos. I think that to get to kind of the crux of it, once you have bought their game, if you want to mod it, that should be on you. And there is, of course, he is modding and making money off of it because he is a full-time YouTuber. It is his job to do that thing. And it is showing people a version of the game that Nintendo did not put out, which is violating their IP law, even though from everything I've heard from the legal shit he went through, I don't believe it actually is, but there's certainly an argument to be made there for it, for sure. But all of those videos, I still haven't, because it's still $65 fucking dollars. All of those videos make me want to go out and buy Super Mario Odyssey. I'm not, because their games don't go on sale. That's besides the point. But that kind of thing of taking down YouTubers, which is a thing they are very well known for. There was an issue when Breath of the Wild launched, people I'm just picking a country, I'm not sure if this is the real one, people in Australia started streaming it, and they got their streams taken down because the game wasn't released. You can't see the air quotes I'm doing, but I am. It was released in their time zone, and they started streaming it, but it wasn't in, maybe Australia's a bad example, because that might be in Japan's time zone. I don't fucking know. But they looked at it and went, oh, they're playing it before they're supposed to. They clearly hacked it. And they didn't. The game released at that time, and they still took down dozens of streams, even though they were within their right in doing it correctly. And shit like that is so fucked up and so shitty that they're doing that. These people aren't, like I said on Point Crow's videos, I don't know if it had the ways to mod the game, but from what I understand, modding a Switch is like really not easy at all. Nintendo really tried to make sure that you can't do that.
Nintendo doesn't want you to mod the Switch, and then he got in trouble for modding the Switch.
But there isn't anything stated that you can't.
Are you sure? Did you
Yes.
read the TOS and the end user agreement and everything like that?
He did and went through it in one of his videos, yes. So I did not directly read it, but in a lawyer-sanctioned statement, he did talk about that, yes.
Okay.
Everything he did was within the TOS and end user agreement of Nintendo, and they took it down anyways. Which, if it was in their TOS, absolutely they were within their right to take it down for sure. Fine. But it was within their TOS completely, because anyone that plays Nintendo games online, or anyone that plays Nintendo games online in terms of like YouTube and Twitch, not just like playing them on your own online, knows these rules because Nintendo is so protective over their IPs. So the fact that he was within all of those rules and still got taken down is super fucked up.
Okay. So does Nintendo release all of their engines and the game files and stuff like that, similar to some of the biggest games in modding, like Minecraft, Skyrim, Fallout?
No, they do not.
Okay. And then he reverse engineered the Switch and the entire game to be able to change it to play the way that he wanted it to?
What is wrong? I get where you're going with this, but if you're not telling people
like
to do it,
Nintendo's intentions were so that their product remains their product the way that they have it, and the way that they sell it. There's probably a reason behind that. Maybe they don't want to be lenient on any sort of mods because that's a slippery slope. And then you have Mario with gigantic tits running around.
Yeah, give us that. That's the new game.
Similar to Skyrim. You know, it's just
so
to me, it's their product. It's their released games, system, IP. If they don't want people fucking with it, that's within their rights. Skyrim, one of the biggest selling points is that it will get modded. Elder Scrolls games, similar. I'm like...
on that point, let me ask you this, because I genuinely don't know the answer to it. Does World of Warcraft have all of those things of putting out all of their not their source code,
add-ons?
Obviously? Yeah. How I'd say, because that's the same thing there.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I don't believe World of Warcraft puts out tools to make add-ons to the game, but I'll be damned if I can look at a stream of World of Warcraft, which in fairness is just Asmongold, because I just see his clips on TikTok. Sure. But if I look at a game of World of Warcraft of someone playing it, they have 50,000 fucking add-ons and systems up, and I've never seen Blizzard take one of them down, and that is not how they intended their game to be looked at or played.
I won't speak about World of Warcraft because I don't play it.
I don't know it enough.
I will speak about League. So League had an issue with add-ons that was giving an unfair advantage to
the CurseForge client, right?
Curse, yeah.
Isn't that what it was?
Curse was one of them. There was another one that came out like along the same time. And basically what it would do is anytime you cleared a camp, it would tell you when the next camp was up for jungling.
Yeah, which is
so League was like, hey, that's not cool. We're not going to do that anymore. And then they took it out, and it was out for a while. And then they put it into the game themselves. So It seems like, would you be okay with that if Nintendo took down, copyright strike this guy because he broke the game, added multiplayer to a game that they didn't want multiplayer and fucked with their system, and then after the fact they put it in to the game itself?
Possibly. That would be looking into what Bethesda did with, or somewhat equivalent to what Bethesda did with the oh god, what is it? Creators Workshop in
Yeah.
I believe both Fallout 4 and I believe Skyrim? Maybe
Yeah.
not. I think there is in
Yeah,
Skyrim
it
though
was
as
in
well,
Skyrim.
right?
It was in Skyrim, yeah.
Yeah, that would be similar to that, I think would be fair to say.
I don't know
Of
if you can draw a direct line to that because Skyrim had all of the game files out originally and then tried to profit off of the fact that they had all the game files out and that there was a chance to add mod, and they basically did it like DLC that you could pay for.
that is kind of what I was going to say. Yeah. I don't think it's a direct comparison, but I think it's somewhat similar. And I feel like if Nintendo were to do something like that, it would probably be a similar system. I think that's probably I mean,
Okay,
other than the fact that Nintendo wouldn't do it for sure.
Let's say they took out the Mario Odyssey mod that lets you play online. They wrote code or something so that if you have that and you are trying to use their online services and connect to people, or they detect it in your game files when you run the game, and then they just cancel you out and you can't play the game until that's gone. But then later they implemented it online. Would you be okay with that?
Sure, I guess.
Okay. So is your issue that they are removing things from the game that they didn't put in there intentionally, or is your issue that they're removing things from the game that you think is fun and makes the game more enjoyable and then not implementing it themselves?
My issue is that they're going against their own terms of service because they said, hey, fuck you.
Sure, but it seems like from all of their actions and the preventative measures that they put into the game to make it very hard to mod, to make the Switch very hard to mod, that maybe they don't want people fucking with that.
Sure.
Okay.
I won't disagree with that.
So if it's like an Apple iPhone. If you jailbreak that, Apple's not going to buy it
voided.
back. Yep.
Right.
And that's because they don't want you to do that.
A different business practice that I disagree with, but that besides the point.
Sure, that's why we are both on Android.
Exactly, yeah.
If you design something so that it shouldn't be tampered with and you don't want it to be tampered with, and then you exclusively or you don't exclusively say don't tamper with this, and then people tamper with it and you're upset about that, I think they're within their rights to shut that down, give that guy some strikes and say, don't fuck with our shit. We don't like it when you do that. We release the game this way. We want it to be played this way. Or within these means, rather, not this way, but like within the means of it's a single player game, keep it single player. We don't want you modding our game. It's a slippery slope. We've seen what happens with Skyrim. We've seen what happens with Minecraft. We don't want the modding community to reflect on our game in a way that we don't see fit. So if there's something that we think should be added to the game, it's already in the game. And I think you said that's why we love Nintendo is they release full games that
I very specifically said
up until like
recently,
like Arceus
sure.
and stuff like that. Pokemon is going through a revolution. They're trying new things. I don't think that there's many games besides like the Pokemon games that have just been like absolute slap in the face. You guys are fucking us over because this is like an unfinished game sort of thing.
I personally feel that way in certain extents about Animal Crossing, but that one's definitely a me issue, not an actual.
Okay.
Issue. I have issues with the new
say
Animal Crossing, but it's not an actual critique of the game. It's just my personal opinion on it. But yeah, that's I think our first real actual difference in opinion that we've had on this podcast. Talking about Nintendo, and we're still never talking about croutons versus toast.
Coward.
It's not happening. I will hang up on you. But yeah, unless you have anything else to add, that's about all I got for it.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, in that case, I've been Ian.
And I'm always Tyler.
And we hope you have a great rest of your week, weekend, day, whenever you happen to be listening to this podcast.
Unless you agree with Ian.
I mean, unless you agree with Tyler. So don't have a good day because you can't agree with either of. If you disagree with both of us, actually, you are allowed to have a good day. Outside of that, you are not if you agree with either of our opinions. But with that, I believe we'll sign off.
Yeah. Next week we're going to talk about simp erasure.